I hope everyone's having a fabulous day. Thanks for coming to join me to talk about books today. Today I'm going to talk about Magnus Chase. So it's a series by Rick Riordan, who also wrote the Percy Jackson series. And for a long time I didn't want to read books that were made for kids. Just when I graduated college, I graduated with a writing emphasis, and I took a lot of high literature classes, so I became very picky about what I read, and a lot of the kids' books that I read, I even tried to read Percy Jackson, and it was just a little bit too young for me, so I put it off. And then I heard my coworkers talk about Magnus Chase, and they were really hyping it up. So I took home the first book in the series, which is Magnus Chase, The Gods of Asgard, The Sword of Summer, and I started reading it. And it's a little bit better tailored to higher readers because the main character is a 16-year-old. So on the surface of this book is a very typical Rick Riordan mythology story, only this time it's with Norse mythology rather than Greek mythology. So the main protagonist is a 16-year-old blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. When you first pick it up, very typical, but when you get into it, the first thing is that the main character, Magnus Chase, is homeless, which skews a little bit of the typical thing that you would read about, especially in a kid's book. Who wants to talk about homelessness, the homelessness problem? Rick Riordan does. And Magnus Chase actually, he reminisces on the times when it was easy to just hide under his bridge and he knew what he needed to do and everything, and nothing was expected of him. And then comes along all of the side characters. I think every single side character has a trait that is not mainstream. One of the characters is deaf. One of the characters is a male that's very into high fashion. One of the characters is a Muslim girl. Her hijab is magical, and the person that's deaf, in the end, it becomes a huge strength because there's all these insults being thrown at people and it's totally throwing them off their guard, but he can't hear them and he stands his ground and is so strong. I think it's so important to show those kinds of things in regular literature, let alone in kids' literature. So I'm so happy that Rick Riordan, who has become very popular in his Percy Jackson series, is able to be so widespread that he can get this message across to kids. And most people don't know that there's so much greatness in this series, so I definitely recommend reading it. I am on to the second book right now and I'm very excited. I've heard great things about the third book. One of my coworkers is very enthusiastic about when I am going to be on the third book because it's her favorite in the series. So I recommend looking at kids literature and kids science fiction fantasy, seeing what's out there, and picking one up and reading it even if you don't like reading kids books, because there is some fantastic literature out there, and Magnus Chase is just one of them. It's fun, but it also has so many lessons, and it's really good writing. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you're reading now, and if you do pick up kids books, which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like, and for what reasons. And I will see you next week. Happy reading!